seems appropriate to begin my remarks by thanking the chairs of the Appropriations Committee, the ranking members of the Appropriations Committee, all members of the Appropriation Committees, in fact, all members of this legislative body, especially those who participated in the debate today. You know, there's been a lot of talk today, perhaps, that seems to suggest that we're not doing our job. You know, there's concern about us not opening up the budget in the way that we have done in the past. And, you know, I would say to that, we're not opening up the budget in the way that we've done in the past because on a bipartisan basis, we did a really good job of putting in a 2-year budget. A 2-year budget that is going to result in an operating surplus for this year, additional dollars going into the budget reserve fund, additional dollars going down to pay down debt. And certainly, you know, we've heard often, as the Speaker and I have a press conference all the time, there's always some group that's disappointed or feeling like they got a little bit less out of the budget, didn't get the exact allocation that they liked. Well, guess what? That's part of the difficult job that we face here in the legislature of working within the parameters that we set for ourselves in 2017. To only allow ourselves to spend a certain amount of money, to allow ourselves to only spend a certain amount of money, to ensure that excess revenues that come in that are volatile in nature are set aside to pay off long-term debts. And this legislation that we're debating right now continues on the path of being responsible for how we execute the finances of the state of Connecticut. This is a budget that makes significant, or this is a document that makes significant investments in young people. And in nonprofits of all kinds, not just the nonprofits that have the biggest voices here in the legislature, although we do put additional dollars to those providers as well, but many of the small nonprofits that are in our communities, that are the backbone of our communities, that are delivering services to young people, that are seeking to support people so they avoid the criminal justice system. This document does that. This spending does that. We know that we're primarily relying on ARPA dollars, which we know will expire. We're doing the responsible thing of reallocating and allocating those to new programs and to new services. Yes, things that are important to all of us as representatives of our districts. I don't know that I see a wrong in that. There was a lot of discussion about excess cost. I don't know that I see an $80 million cut in this document. Unfortunately, what's actually happening is we can't commit an additional $80 million to excess cost to help support special education students in our districts. I believe everybody in this district would love to do that, but there are guardrails that everybody has espoused as being sacrosanct that we cannot move beyond, and therefore we cannot spend that additional $80 million that I imagine every person in this legislature would vote for if we could. There was concerns that were just made about lapses. I believe there have been lapses in every budget that I've ever voted for. There are lapses in this budget because what we have here is a partnership with the executive branch. What we have here is a partnership with the governor's office. And it will be incumbent upon us to ensure that the governor isn't cutting or using that lapsing authority to really reduce spending on the things that are priorities to us, primarily around education, right? We have made historic investments in education to every community in this town. We've abided by that, and I believe the governor will abide by that. And if he doesn't, most of us, many of us will be back in January in the middle of the FY25 budget, and we can have a discussion about that if the governor is to act in that way, but I don't think he will. So what we should be doing is voting yes on this. I believe it will be a bipartisan vote, and I think that reflects the kind of work that we do in this building. I think it reflects the kind of work that we do with the executive branch. I mean, and it's why Connecticut is in the place that it is. It is not perfect. We have not been able to meet every single demand that has been asked of us throughout the state of Connecticut, but Connecticut is on solid footing. Our communities are on solid footing, and what this bill is going to do is continue that progress that we're making every day to make Connecticut the best state in the country, and I urge adoption.